It is America's passion. We live for it, hunger for it, cheer for it, and are inspired by it. But it is so much more than a game. We love it on our youth fields, in our high schools, at our colleges, in our stadiums, and on our TVs. But it is so much more than a game. We love those who coach it, play it, broadcast it, and even officiate it. Well, most of the time. But it is so much more than a game. Football is a classroom for commitment. It is a laboratory for learning important life virtues and values like teamwork, perseverance, responsibility, courage, compassion, and character. Life skills that, if mastered, will not only make you a Hall of Famer, but more importantly, a great father or mother, husband or wife, son or daughter, friend, teacher, preacher, soldier, police officer, firefighter, or citizen of our communities. General Douglas MacArthur ordered that a plaque be placed on the playing fields at the United States Military Academy at West Point. It said, "Upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on different days, on different fields, shall bear the fruit of victory." Long before they had a master sergeant shouting orders in the heat of battle, those on the sands of Iwo Jima, the beaches of Normandy, in 1,000 places with names like Belleau Wood, Heartbreak Ridge, Porkchop Hill, or Fallujah, had a coach teaching them the critical lessons of sacrifice, respect for others, loyalty, duty, honor, nobility, and yes, even love. The huddle is a place of inclusion, where, as Dr. King once dreamed, each man is measured not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. On the battlefield, just like on our playing fields, character is measured by the fight for every precious yard, purchased by the sweat, blood, and tears of those young men and women fighting for freedom and against the oppression of others. Football is the only sport where every player needs every teammate on every play just in order to survive. In the 99-year history of the National Football League, there have been more than 1,200 players, coaches, and administrators like Roger Staubach or Pat Tillman who have interrupted their professional careers to defend our country in battle. 3 members of the NFL family received the Congressional Medal of Honor, our nation's highest award for valor. And while all gave some gave all, as 22 members of the NFL family gave what President Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion. Thank God that we have teammates who care about honor, integrity, nobility, and America. It's more than a game. It is so much more than a game.
I want to thank all the players behind me for making it possible for me to be what I am. When I was a boy, I'm going to end with this. I was 10 years old, I think it was 1962, Jim. You guys played the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day. They call it the Thanksgiving Day Massacre. I went with my dad and my 4 brothers to that game. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but you guys got the bad seats. Me and Dad got to sit on the 50. I held Dad's hand. I said, "Dad, someday I'm going to play in this game." He didn't doubt me for a minute. He said, "When you do, I'm going to be there." 1978, time passed. My father had a heart attack like maybe 3 or 4 weeks before that game. Long story short, we played the game. OJ got 273 yards. Jim Ringo told me, "I never seen you play a game that hard." I played it because I said my dad's not going to be there. I walk out of the locker room, there he is. I go, "Dad, what are you doing here, man? You shouldn't even be here. What are you're crazy?" He said, "Don't you remember 1962? I'm not going to miss this for the world." That's a true story. You guys thought about coming back to Canton? Guess what, guys? I'm not going to miss this for the world. You are my heroes, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Guard Joe DeLamielleure was the anchor of two all-time great offensive lines. The electric company in Buffalo turned on the juice, running back O.J. Simpson. Joe also led an offensive line in Cleveland that blocked for NFL MVP Brian Sipe and 1,000-yard rusher Mike Pruitt. DeLamielleure would never miss a single game in his entire NFL career, one that was filled with personal awards. An 8-time All-Pro, he played in 6 Pro Bowls and was named the Offensive Lineman of the Year in 1975.
Then courage, that's pretty easy. All you do is have to do the right thing all the time. And it takes courage to do that, especially nowadays. You guys know all the opportunity you can have to go out and, drink, smoke, do whatever you want to do, run around, act stupid. But if you have courage, it takes courage to do the right thing all the time. Then respect. I think that's like one of the things that is kind of starting to really go south in this country, because nobody respects. A lot of times I look at it and go, man, nobody respects anybody. They cut you off on the road. Everybody's texting. Nobody's listening. Nobody's looking at you. Teachers try to talk to you. Kids are texting, drawing in their book. There's a lot of things to respect. And if you don't respect people first, they're not going to respect you either. Then you got a problem, okay? And then the other one is excellence. If you do all these things, excellence comes. It's not a given. You got to work for excellence, and just like you got to work for respect. Nothing is given to you ever. You have to work for it, and that's good, because then when you work for something, you feel a lot better. When your mommy and daddy give you anything you want, all of a sudden you don't care about things as much as somebody who's worked for a car or worked for an iPhone or whatever. You feel a little differently about it than if it was given to you. So that's what I have to say. Football has been great to me. I started playing in 5th grade, and I was lucky. I had 4 older brothers, and I played against Mean Joe Green. I always said this: my brothers hit me harder than Joe Green ever thought of hitting me. They never let me on their team. I was the youngest boy. They'd pick up teams. I was on all these. They'd never pick me, so they could beat me up, and they got me tough. Believe me. I never looked back after I played with my brothers, because everything else is downhill. But if we have any questions.
Oh, yeah, that's the next part. We're going to go ahead and thank you for your opening remarks. Like you talked about our 5 values there, our Hall of Fame values, and how important they are, not only in the game of football, but outside in your everyday life, like you talked about there. So I want to thank you for those opening remarks. And now we're going to turn it over to the schools to ask some questions. The first school we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to our school in Florida, Glade Central. I'm going to go ahead and unmute your mic. So go ahead and step up to the camera and ask Mr. DeLamielleure your question.
Good afternoon. This is Ramik, and he's going to ask the first question.
How important do you feel accountability is on and off the field?
Can you repeat the question so I can hear it?
How important do you feel accountability is on and off the field?
Accountability on and off the field, that's the whole key to everything, because you're accountable. Because accountable means you're responsible. And what I coached for 4 years of I coached for probably 15 years, and everybody's accountable for what they do. Guys that say, hey, it's not my fault, or I miss it. You got to know from the get what you're doing and what you're getting into. And I always got a kick out of kids that said, man, how come I'm not playing? And I said, what did you do in the summer? Or what did you do before you turned up for the team, before practices? You got to earn it. And just to walk out there and put on the pads, it's not going to get it. It's all about technique. And I used to laugh at some coaches who coach never played to that level. They'd say, you got to be aggressive. You got to be angry. No, you don't. You have to have control, and you have to be controlled violence. That's what I call it. But you got to be able to have technique. If you don't have technique and you don't learn technique, you can be as fast as you want to be, as strong as you want to be, but you're still going to get beat by a guy who knows technique. So that's all comes in with accountability.
All right, for our next question, we're going to send it out to one of our schools in New York, Jamestown. So Jamestown, we're going to go ahead and unmute your mic, and we're going to have you step up to the camera and ask Mr. DeLamielleure your question. All right, they're coming. They're coming. There they go.
Where am I? Okay.
Mike's right here. Yep.
How did you keep your body intact throughout all those years of football?
Still in shape. How? I work out every day. Hard. And I watch what I eat. I used to eat like M&Ms and pizza and drink Pepsi like it was, you know, I was going through the electric chair. But now as you age up and you start playing and you're competing against guys who are training all the time, you start, you know, wising up. So I've always stretched, which a lot of people don't do. I use bands, exercise bands. I have a company where we do that. I watch what I eat. I go to bed. When I was playing, I'd go to bed early, and I'd really watch my opponent. Like, I knew what my opponent was doing all the time. I'd pick up little tips from him. I'll give you an example. John Rando, who's a great Hall of Famer, he's defensive lineman. A lot of you guys, he's younger, so you guys will recognize that name. One game, they sacked Boomer Esiason like 10 times. So I go, John, how did you know? Why do you know you could get to him that quickly? He said, how about this? If he snaps 2 buttons, his chin strap, 2 of them, it's a pass. If it's unbuttoned, it's a run because he's not expecting to get hit. Well, guess what? When he had 2 snapped, they were coming after him. They weren't looking for a run. They weren't looking for anything. And that's what guys in the NFL do. You get better and better, and you pick out little things that they do, and all of a sudden they go, wow, that guy's really smart. He's studied a lot of plays. But
I can back you up on that, Joe. When you were here in Canton during Enshrinement Week powered by Johnson Controls, one of the mornings I was up early for work, passed you in the hotel lobby at like 5:30 in the morning, and you were on your way to work out. So, like you said, even now you're keeping your body in shape and working out every day. So, next question we're going to have here is we're going to send it over to our other New York school there at Sinclairville. So go ahead and step up to the mic and ask Mr. DeLamielleure your question.
How long have you been in the Hall of Fame?
how long does it take to get in the Hall of Fame? It depends on how good you are. It took me a long time because I'm not as good as the great ones. There's great, there's really great, and there's super, super great. The super guys get in on first ballot. It took me 13 years. I got in 13 years after I was eligible. But there are some just obvious people who are like Walter Payton and, you know, O.J. Simpson. Those are the type of guys who get in on first ballot. And but once you're in the Hall of Fame, everybody's equal, which is good. That makes you feel good because it's a tough thing to get into. There's probably, they say there's 300 people, but a lot of those guys are coaches and contributors. I think on this jacket, I was 171. When I got in, there was only 2 right guards in the Hall of Fame, Larry Little and myself. Now we got Will Shields and someone else, but you know, it takes a while and you got to be lucky. And sometimes there's I always said this, 171 players. I'm 171. I know 171 guys who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame and they're not. There's a lot of luck to be in the Hall of Fame. Right place, right coach, right team. I was, me and Dan DeLamielleure were the first 2 offensive linemen who got in the Hall of Fame who didn't play in the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of the reporters say you got to play in the Super Bowl to get in the Hall of Fame. I know a lot of guys who are great and never played in the Hall of Fame, but it takes a while.
All right, we're going to turn it over now to some students here from Ohio. We're going to turn it over to Lakewood High School. I'm going to go ahead and ask your question.
What was the experience like when you first walked onto an NFL field?
How to feel? We played
Yeah.
the New England Patriots. I can tell you, I feel just the same way. I remember it like it was yesterday. They were introducing the offense, and I was playing with O.J. Simpson. And I was thinking to myself, man, I was just 5 years ago, I was just a kid sitting like you guys were in a room thinking, man, I would love to play in the NFL. I just never thought in a million years I could. We're playing the New England Patriots. They're announcing the offense. I get announced. And I was thinking about my mother and father more than I was thinking about anything else. I'm the 9th of 10 kids. My dad went to 3rd grade. My mother went to 8th grade. My dad told me I didn't even go to kindergarten because my dad told me school was overrated. He said, we grew up in a bar, and he said, we got a bar here. You can run this bar when you're older. All right, cool, Dad. But then as I grew up, my brothers kept telling me, man, school is important. It's very important. You got to get the grades. You got to do this. So I did all that, and I got a scholarship. Went to Michigan State. 4 years later, I get drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Like 6 weeks later, I'm starting in the NFL. I was thinking, my mother and dad probably can't believe this, and they couldn't. They were sitting in Detroit like, oh my God, there he is. He's playing. That's how I felt about playing in the NFL. God blessed me. He gave me a good body, great parents, tough brothers, and a great school. I grew up in Catholic school where the nuns prayed for me every day so I don't get hurt. And prayers are answered because I never had a surgery to this day.
So from that game that you said your first game there, stepping onto an NFL field, all the way here to Canton, Ohio, as a member of the class of 2003. And when you were inducted, and when you get inducted into the Hall of Fame, you get 3 iconic pieces. You get the Kay Jewelers Ring of Excellence, you get the Haggard Gold Jacket, and you get that bronze bust. Maybe the most iconic piece being that bronze bust that's going to last here in Canton, Ohio, in our Hall of Fame gallery for over 40,000 years. So long after you and I are gone, Joe, this bronze bust is still going to be here and show how great of a player you were throughout your career. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the Director of Youth and Education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Jerry Shockey. And Jerry is live in our Hall of Fame gallery, and he's standing in front of that bronze bust, and he's going to talk a little bit about your career and what it means to have a bronze bust here in the Hall of Fame. So, Jerry, are you there?
Hey, Jake, yes, I am, and I'm joined by the bronze bust of Gold Jacket Joe DeLamielleure. And just so you kids know, I know you're tuned in from all across the country, is it just how big of an honor it is to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And think about this just for a second, that since football began, there have been about 300 million that have played it at all levels. There have been about 5 million that have played at the collegiate level. There have been about 29,000 that have been paid to play, coach, officiate, or administrate the game of pro football. There are only 318 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you see right behind me and above me is one of those Gold Jacket and a good friend of mine, Mr. Joe DeLamielleure. Joe DeLamielleure went to Michigan State University and was selected by the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the 1973 NFL Draft. At first, it seemed he would never play pro football. Fortunately, further tests showed his irregular heartbeat was not serious, and Joe went on to win all rookie honors. Joe played in 185 consecutive games during his 13 playing seasons with the Bills and the Cleveland Browns. DeLamielleure played and started in every game for 8 seasons in Buffalo before being traded to Cleveland in 1980. He was named to the NFL's 1970s All-Decade team, finished his career in 1985 with a final season back where it began in Buffalo. As you can tell, Joe D, as he is known, had an outstanding career, culminating with the top honor in professional football, induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jake, we're going to send it back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Jerry. So, Joe, so far, after being inducted to the Hall of Fame, what has been the best part about being a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
The best part is I haven't played football since 1985. You would not believe how good I got since 1985. I was nowhere that good near what they're talking about. But the best part is you can make a big difference in lives. I mean, I got in the Hall of Fame, and we've always wanted, my wife and I, we've been married, going to be 47 years, I think. But we've always, yeah, she gave me a thumbs up, that's 47 years. But I always said, if I ever got into the Hall of Fame, I'm going to make a difference. I can't make a difference anymore on the field, but I can make a big difference off the field. And me and my college roommates from Michigan State, we have an orphanage with 59 kids in that orphanage. We adopted 2 boys from Korea. One kid works with Norfolk Grumman. He's a supervisor. He's doing great. He's like 35. The other one sells real estate in Charlotte, and they're married. One boy's got 2 kids. We helped raise, we have 4 of our own, 4 children of our own. They all went to college. My son played football at Duke, and we helped raise 3 boys that I coached in high school. and they've all graduated. They're doing good. They're teachers. They all made something of their lives. So that's what I call it. The Hall of Fame has given me an opportunity to help a lot more people than I ever could have if I didn't make the Hall of Fame.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back over to our students there at Glade Central. Go ahead and ask your question here for Mr. DeLamielleure.
My name is Anthony Broughton. Which of the Hall of Fame values commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence? Which one do you believe is your strongest and why?
The strongest one I believe in is integrity, because if you're straight up with your friends and your parents, and integrity is everything. The guys you play against, they respect you because everything else falls off for integrity, because you're a good guy. You're not a cheap shot. You play the game how it's supposed to be played, and you're a good team guy. So I'd say integrity would be the most important thing for me. And that's what I coach, and that's what I wanted too. I wanted kids with integrity.
All right, so it looks like we've lost some of our New York schools here, so hopefully they pop back in. So the next question, we're going to send it back out to Lakewood for their next question for you.
All righty, here we go. I just wanted to know what it was like getting your first paycheck, and was it overwhelming or like seeing it at first? I don't know. Just talk a little bit about it, please. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that, because my first paycheck was for $1,250, and I was the #1 pick. That was my first game check. I got to tell you this, because back then it's not like it is now. I was the #1 pick of the Buffalo Bills. My salary, how much I got paid for that year was $22,000. The general manager told me, "Let me tell you something, kid. That's one game at a time. You're not getting $22,000. You get paid one game check at a time. After 3 games, we don't like you. You've only made $3,600. It's not like it is now. My signing bonus was $30,000. If I played today, I'd be making $11 million. $11 million. I make more from my NFL pension and Social Security. My pensions are sub-poverty, and I don't want to get into this, but the guys who built this league are not taken care of. Everything is not so rosy. I love the NFL. I would never change. I walked to Canton from Buffalo. I am proud that I'm in the Hall of Fame. A couple years ago, they always said, "You coming back to Canton?" I said, "If I have to walk, I will." So I met some kid with prosthetics. He had no legs, and he needed to raise some money. I said, "Look, I'll walk from Buffalo to Canton. Try to raise you some money." And we did, and the kid got a job. But people are not aware that the guys who played before 1993 are not like the superstars getting paid today. And if I played baseball, and I played as long as I played, I'd make like $200,000 a year. But guess what? I won't trade all that for any of this, because we've changed people's lives. I feel like Gray Young, we've known him since he's 15. He's done so much for the community of Fort Mill, him and his family. The father was in administration and the mother was working. That's what's important in life. That's what I'm telling you about integrity, things. Times are different than they were. But I won't trade football, or I won't trade being in the Hall of Fame for anything. It's changed my life. My dad went to 3rd grade. I mean, I'm the only one in my family to graduate. Football gave me all that. And a lot of you guys sitting here listening to this, you have the same situations right now in 2018. Football can change your life just like school can change your life. You can get academic scholarships. There's more to it than money. I get a kick out of it because everyone's, "Oh, you must be rich." I am rich. I'm loaded. I got 12 grandchildren. I'm married to the same girl. I got 5 brothers and 5 sisters or 4 sisters, 5 sisters, 4 brothers that were my best friends for life. My wife's family is my best friend. That's what it's all about. It's not about how much money you make. It's not what people think. It's not anything about that at all. It's about doing the right thing, helping the most people you can, and having a great family. So God has blessed me. I'm so blessed, I can't tell you.
So you talked a little bit about your career there and playing in the time that you did. Can you talk a little bit about the Electric Company nickname that your team had there with O.J. Simpson as running back, and who gave that to you? How did it come up with? How did it build camaraderie? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when we were in Buffalo, like from the first game, OJ ran for 275 yards. So we had an offensive line, and they said, "Oh, you have to have a nickname. There's got to be a nickname." So nobody could think of it. So there used to be a cartoon on called The Electric Company. You guys ever hear of it? Nobody heard of it. Every kid back, if I asked this question 35 years ago, every kid, yeah, man, The Electric Company. It was a cartoon. It was a 10-year-old boy. He was watching the Bills. He's a big Bills fan. He said, I know what we should call them. We should call them the Electric Company. They turn loose the juice, O.J. Simpson. So that's how we got the nickname. The Electric Company came from a 10-year-old boy who watched cartoons all day. So keep watching those cartoons, kids. You never know what could come up. But that's how we got the name.
All right, so we're going to send it back down to Florida to Glade Central for their next question for Mr. DeLamielleure.
My name is Keontae Bush. I want to know, what was the experience of back then playing in the NFL like? What was the most important thing to you for you to keep moving, to keep going hard?
Say that again.
What is it like? Kind of what motivated you to become the player that you were, and to keep you on the field, and that drive that you had?
Oh, I love playing. It wasn't work to me. This is what I always say, because everybody said, the coaches come up to me, they go, you work so hard. I go, I work so hard? I don't think so. I play hard. They don't say, let's go work football. We say, let's go play football. Your mom and dad go to work. Teachers, firemen, policemen, real people have real jobs. I played until I was 35 years old. Are you kidding me? I drive by, I'd be driving to the stadium. I'd see people driving to work. Oh man, their faces all tense and everything. They were going to work. I was going to play. And I had a blast because I never had to dress up. Right now I'm so dressed up. My kids, when I wear matching Under Armour, they think I'm going to a wedding or a funeral. I am dressed like you guys, and this is a goofy day at this school. They can dress however they want. I saw nothing wrong with it. That's how I dress every single day. But that's what I liked about football. I loved it. I go to camp early. People go, the coaches ask me, why are you coming to camp? You don't even have to be here for another week or two. I said, to discourage my opponent. My opponent at that time was a guy who was trying to take my job. I wanted him to think that I love this more than anything. In between sessions, I used to jog. The coach would go, what are you doing? I said, I'm discouraging my competition. And that's what I did for 13 years.
Awesome. So we're going to send it over to Lakewood now for their next question for Mr. DeLamielleure.
What was going through your head during draft night?
During what?
During draft night.
Draft day?
NFL draft night.
Oh, the draft day? We didn't have draft day either. This is a good one. I had to pass a 5-credit class to graduate right on time at Michigan State. So I didn't even, back then it wasn't on TV. They'd call you up and tell you if they drafted you. You had no idea if anybody's going to draft you or not. I heard that the Pittsburgh Steelers called me and they said they're going to take me in the first round unless JT Thomas is available. Well, I don't know who JT, I knew he was a defensive back and they needed a corner. And said, if we don't take you in that pick, we're going to take you the first pick in the second round. And so I said, oh, I guess I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. So I went to the class. I took my test. Couldn't even think about it. I had to pass that test to graduate on time. So I come back, and my wife and I were married in college. I go, anybody call? No. Draft's got to be in about the third round by now because it's 1 o'clock. It started at 10 o'clock. So I walk in the door, the phone rings. She picks it up. It's for you. So I pick it up. We just drafted you in the first round. Oh, okay, great, man. I can't believe this. Then I hang up the phone. I call my dad, who had a bar. Dad, I just got drafted in the first round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So next, I hang up the phone. He's all excited. The bar's going nuts. It was lunch hour. And my phone rings back, and there was a sports writer from Buffalo. He said, what do you think about playing with O.J. Simpson? I go, what? What do you mean? Did I get traded? I said, no, you were the first pick. You were the last pick in the first round, the 26th pick, and Buffalo picked you. I go, damn, I didn't know that. So that's how I ended up playing in Buffalo. I thought I was drafted by Pittsburgh. And if I would have been drafted by Pittsburgh, I would have 5 rings, or 4 Super Bowl rings. I got nothing, not even close. Never got close to the Super Bowl, never played in one. But I often think of that. What if Pittsburgh would have drafted me? But who knows what would have happened. I was glad I went where I went. Yeah. Any other questions?
All right, so it looks like we got some of our New York schools back. A little internet outage up there. So we're going to send it over to Jamestown here for their next question for you. So Jamestown, go ahead and step up to the mic.
What is one on-the-field moment you'll never forget?
One what?
On the field moment.
What is one on-the-field moment you'll never forget?
Okay. I had so many of them, but I'm going to think of some of the funniest ones where we were screwing around with guys who were our opponents. So we used to get a kid, I'm not going to mention his name, played with Oakland. He played defensive end. There's a right tackle next to me. We would always go up to the line of scrimmage when we knew the ball was going the other way. And I'd ask him, his name was Joe DeLamielleure. I'd go, Joe, what's the count on? 1. It would be on 1, on 2. He'd always tell us the count if the play was going away. But when we needed a first down, we could rely on this guy all the time. We'd go up the line of scrimmage, tell our quarterback, Joe, go on 2. Joe Ferguson was the quarterback. So go up the line of scrimmage. It's 3rd and 4. Go up to Joe DeLamielleure. Joe, what's it on? 1. Come on, man, listen. What? He's offside. 3 times in one game. 3 times. It was like clockwork. People, man, that kid's offside all the time. He was listening to us. So then we went to Oakland, played a Monday night. Same kid was there. First play of the game, we go to the quarterback. Please, let's go on 2. Go up the line of scrimmage. Go up the line. The guy's out there again. Joe, what's it on? Come on, man. It's on 1. Listen. He jumps off. First play of the game, he jumped off. 5-yard penalty. You know what he did? He went to the ref, who was a friend of mine from Michigan State. His name was Dean Look. He said, they even said it was on 1. And we looked at the official. We go, shh. So those are the moments I have that to remember about football, because football's a game. It's fun. And it's not all, blood and guts. We had so much fun playing. And I can't tell you how much. After games, we'd go and just laugh and say, man, I can't believe I get paid for this. We're actually paying me. Honest guys, I would have played in the NFL my first year if they gave me a really nice shirt and a cap like that. I didn't need money. I just wanted to play, and I loved it. So you asked the wrong guy a question, because I'm not a money guy.
All right, so you talk a little bit about your career during when you were playing, and I got some stats here. So not only did you succeed on the field, we got a long list here. You were the NFLPA's AFC arm wrestling champion in 1975, racquetball champion in 1978, AFC racquetball champion in 1979, and then you competed in the 1982 NFL Strongest Man competition. Can you talk about these contests? What did they involve, and how did it bring all these different NFL players together?
First of all, I never had a real job. I played all the time. When the offseason, they missed the thing in there. I bowled a 600 series in Cleveland, bowling. So that I averaged over 200 games or points a game or pins a game for 3 games. But I just played. I mean, I played sports my whole life, and arm wrestling was easy. I had 5 sisters. We used to arm wrestle all the time. I beat them all the time. I said, I can beat anybody. But we'd go to my dad's bar and we'd always arm wrestle. We did all kinds of games. Any game you could think of, we did. And that's racquetball. I loved racquetball. I was addicted to it. It was like an addiction. A lot of guys back in the 70s, they had addictions to drinking, and a lot of guys did weed and stuff. We're trying to help all these players. They go, what's your addiction? I said, working out. Football is my addiction. It really was. My wife used to, our biggest arguments were, are you ever going to stop working out? And it still is the same argument. You work out 3 hours a day. And I said, well, you do what you want to do 3 hours a day also. So I played a game, guys, my whole life. And those were all games, racquetball, bowling, arm wrestling. It was all fun.
So even though you played the game of football your entire life, was there a moment throughout your career where your character was tested, or that was a lot tougher than some other moments?
When football is a lot tougher, because you don't go through on. I've never had a surgery, but there were days where I go, dang, I wish I weren't playing this. How many heard of the wedge? The football wedge? You're the 4 guys deep. They banned the wedge now. They've run 4 guys. They'd run 10 guys at you, other than the kicker, to break the wedge up. There was 4 of us back there. It was brutal. And I was on that wedge for like 13 years. And a lot of guys, they put rookies in there. They liked me in there because I could run and hit at the same time. And that was the only time I ever thought, dang, I really don't like this sport as much as I thought I did at one time, because it was rough. That was the hard part. That's about the only time in football I wish I didn't play. And one time in New York, we played very first play of the game. My hand is all screwed up. You can see this hand. It's all bumpy and everything. The very first play, I caught my thumb in the guy's face mask, and he broke my thumb. And I never came out of the game. So I said, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Thank God we got out of the game. They just taped my hand like this. True story. I can show you this. The trainer said, well, you're going to have to sit out a couple games with that thing. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I put the cast. Back then, they didn't check your cast. So I put the cast on this hand, which is my right hand. And all the defensive guys ran to that hand. And I played the rest of the season, like, pull this hand back, and they hit this hand. But I use this as a club. It was a good one. And I made the cast, believe it or not. It was a totally different game back then. I made the cast by myself. It had all kinds of stuff, chicken wire, I had plaster, anything that was that thing. But I actually got a picture of that after the game, me with my cast. And I got a game ball after the next game because they said I couldn't play. And I said, I'm playing. I just think practice, I put the cast on this hand so the guys don't hit it as hard. But a lot of tricks to playing a long time.
So now with that, we'll go ahead and turn over to Lakewood there. Lakewood, you have another question for Joe D?
Okay, go ahead, Isaac.
Which team was more enjoyable to play for, the Browns or the Bills?
Which team I like the most? I'm not being a politician. I like them both. I love playing.
Right.
If you close your eyes and you're walking around Cleveland or Buffalo, and they didn't tell you which city it is, it looks like the same city. You can't tell if you didn't see the stadium. The fans were the same. I mean, come on. Cleveland hadn't won a game in what? What were they? 32-1 or 31? They still have the best fans. Buffalo's the same way. Lose 4 Super Bowls. Everybody's still there. These are unusual cities because the fans, they'd rather buy a ticket than buy their kids' shoes. And I like playing there in both of them. And I like the weather. It's fun. The other teams that come, they'd be all chilly. We'd be there. Kind of warm here tonight. It's 12 degrees. But I love playing in the cold. Love playing at those both cities. They're great. The fans are the best.
All right, next question. We'll send it back down the floor to the Glade Central. Do you guys have another question there?
What advice can you give to young people about how to develop character?
What advice can you give to
young kids
character?
About character? I always think this about character is you are what you are, even in the dark. If you can't tell everybody what you're doing all the time or show them what you're doing, and you're going to do something different when nobody's watching, I don't think that's a good trait. I think you got to be upfront with everybody all the time. And I often believe this, like there's 3 things, like there's a belief, an opinion, a belief, and a conviction. And everybody has an opinion in this room, right? What do you guys think of this day, or what do you think of eating this type of food? I think it's okay. Or you have a belief. I believe that's bad. Or I mean just using food as a thing. Or a conviction. I want people with convictions where they say, no, I know this is the best thing to do. It's not an opinion, it's not a belief. I know it's the best thing to do. And I think if you live your life like that, if you really find things that you really believe in and nothing can sway you from that, I think you have a lot better life.
All right, there are any students there right there in front of you that have any questions for you?
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah.
Who's like your best friend to like the team?
My best friend on the
Yeah.
team, always usually my the guy played right next to me, either center or guard, because I played guard. So there's always a guy next to me because you got to know him so well. One kid, I got to say this though. There's a kid in Cleveland. His name's Dave. We call him Puzz. Puzlowski's name. Puzz. He played at Pitt. His defensive tackle. How many guys watch Leave It to Beaver in here? Nobody. Forget the story. We used to call each other Lumpy and Beaver, and Wally. They used to say, "Wally clobbered me that day." Me too, Lumpy. So we'd always play this. I'd line up across from him. Okay, today's my day, Lumpy. I'm going to kick your butt. Don't, Wally. But anyhow, we'll tell some other stories. Go ahead.
All right. We'll go ahead and send it back out to Jamestown, New York there for their next question.
See right here. There you go.
Who was the hardest player you ever had to block?
Hardest guy I ever had to block? Well, obviously Joe Green and Merlin Olsen. Everybody knows those guys. They were really good. But I used to play against a guy named Mike Barnes, and he was a sculptor. He sculpted things. And then the other guy was Mike Reed. He played the organ. But I don't like to tell people that. The two of the toughest guys, one's a sculptor and one plays the organ. Nobody would believe that, right? They're the two toughest football players you ever played against. But those guys had different talents. But when they're on the football field, Mike Reed and Mike Barnes, they're unbelievable. They're like Joe Green and Merlin Olsen. But anybody you lined up in professional football, they're pretty good. They got there for a reason. What made me worry a little, is I'm not real tall. I'm like 6'3", 6'2.5". When the guy was shorter than me, because I go, uh-oh, this guy really had to do something right to stay this long and be that short. Because most scouts say he's too short to play. All the guys, Barry Sanders, he's too little. He can't play. Walter Payton can't play, too little. I mean, the shorter you are, everybody's got physical attributes. But when the guys are a little bit different, a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, those are the guys you're kind of worried about because you go, whoa, they did something special to get to this point. So that's why you guys get encouraged. Don't worry about size as much as talent.
Awesome. So are there any other students there in front of you at Pleasant Knoll that have another question?
Oh, we got all kinds of them. Am I supposed to call on these guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Have I ever met Bo Jackson? Bo Jackson, have I ever met him? No. I wish I did. I admire him. He's really good. There's some guys that I wish I did meet, and I wish I met LeBron James because I think he might be the greatest to ever play. But I did meet Oscar Robertson. How many guys heard of Oscar Robertson?
Yeah.
I met him. He was the most impressive guy I ever met. You know why? I introduced him to my wife. He goes, Oscar Robertson, how are you, ma'am? Everybody knew who Oscar. That'd be like LeBron James shaking your hand. I'm LeBron James. How you doing? You go, are you kidding me? Everybody knows who we are. There are some really humble guys that I did meet Reggie Jackson, and I was impressed. He was good. Yeah.
What was your favorite college football?
My
Your favorite
college football memory is when I got my degree. That was the best, and it was right on time. And I was saying, oh man. But actually, it was the same deal. I started as a sophomore, and I started from day one. And back then, you couldn't play as a freshman. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
What was your most memorable moment in the NFL?
Most memorable moment in the NFL? I'd say when OJ broke the record. He broke Jim Brown's record, and it was the last game of our rookie year. And he rushed the ball for 2,003 yards that year in 14 games. So, yeah.
During your whole football career, did you ever feel like you couldn't do it?
No. In my whole football career, did I ever feel like I could not do it? No. I'm humble, but I was also cocky because I knew I could do it. And thank you. You're a great player. No, I'm a good player. But guess what? When I lined up against a guy, I said, I'm going to kick your butt. And I don't care what it takes, what I got to do. I'm going to do it cleanly, but I'm going to out-condition you. And that's what I do. I try to out-condition guys because they would be great on like 3 or 4 plays. Then they take a play off because that's how human nature. But if you find a guy who never takes a play off, there's this guy, Mike Barnes, I played against. He never took a play off, never took a breather. Most guys will at least take a breather, but it was a whole day's work.
All right, we got time for about one more round, so we're going to send it back out to our school here in Florida, Glade Central, for your last question here for Joe D.
Guys,
Whenever you're ready.
All right. If you had to go back to the NFL, which team would you go to?
Well, probably the Patriots. Since I never played in the Super Bowl. But if I had to go back to one team, and it couldn't be the Bills and it couldn't be the Browns, let me think. I got to think about this because it'd be the Green Bay Packers because I love Green Bay. I love that field. I love the tradition. And the guy who coached me is Jim Ringo, and he coached me for 8 of my 13 years. And he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he's a center, and he's undersized. And he was the guy who drafted me. I played in the Senior Bowl. I got on the scale. And back then, when you got on the scale, everybody saw it. I was scouts. I weighed 243. Coach Ringo looked at the scale, and he's yelling it out to the scouts. He goes, DeLamielleure, 255. I got off the scale. I looked at him, and he goes, hope I see you in Buffalo, son. And they drafted me in the first round. So I always thought a lot of Green Bay. I love that. I love the colors. When I was in high school, we were green and gold. So that's what I'd want to play for, the Packers.
All right, now we'll send it over to Lakewood. Lakewood, here to be your last question here for Joe D.
Okay, Ben, go ahead. Were you always a naturally talented player, or did you have to work your way up to be great?
I never thought I always worked the same. I didn't work my way up to anything. I just did the best I could do every day and let the chips fall. And I guess I was a great player, but I think I was a really good player. Played hard, played clean, and worked out hard. I hate even saying that word, worked out hard. Worked out. I played hard, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It wasn't a job. It wasn't. I look at these kids that I'm looking at. What would you guys do to play to 35 years old? I'm looking at you. What would you give to play to 35? To play football. Anything, right? You wouldn't need money right now at this point, would you? You'd like to get a little cash, but you won't want. You don't say I want to be a millionaire, do you? No, you just want to play the game. That's all it is. Money has nothing to do with it.
All right, we're going to send it over to Jamestown, New York for their last question for Joe D.
What was your favorite part about the whole Hall of Fame induction process?
The induction process? I don't like the process as much as I like going back every year. I'm like you guys. I get to sit next, like 2 years ago, I got to sit next to Joe Namath for a whole, we had like a luncheon and everything. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm sitting next to Joe Namath. I'm like you guys. It'd be like sitting next to Joe Montana or whoever, or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I was just a guy. I was just an offensive lineman who happened to play on some good teams and played with some really great players, and I got in the Hall of Fame. So I'm awestruck like you guys are when I go there. I really am.
All right, looks like we got students now over there at Sinclairville, so I'm going to unmute your mic. Go ahead and ask your question for Joe D.
What inspired you to play football?
What do you need to play football?
What inspired you?
Oh,
She said, what inspired you?
So you're going to have to be a kicker, honey. But I'm joking now, women. Don't get upset. What was the question? What do I have to do to play football?
What inspired you?
What inspired me? My 4 older brothers. 2 of my older brothers for sure. Because I watched them and I wanted to be just like them. Everybody says, who's your hero when you're a kid? My brothers were my heroes. I want to be just like them.
All right, so I got another list of accomplishments here that you had throughout your career. You're inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2003, the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in 2004, the Cleveland Browns Ring of Honor, and the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame. So you can definitely say that you had a pretty decent career in the NFL. So what do all of those honors mean to you as a player and as a Hall of Famer?
Well, I'm proud of those accomplishments, and I also just got nominated to another Hall of Fame, which might be more important. It's a Catholic Hall of Fame. I made the all Catholic. I'm a Catholic, so we already have an orphanage and everything. So they have a deal where in Chicago, the owner of the Chicago Bears, they have a deal, and they named me to the Catholic Hall of Fame, which is important to me because I go to church every day, and I know that sounds crazy, but I love going to church. Just take 15, 20 minutes out of my day and thank God for what he's given me. So now I got that Hall of Fame to add. So it means a lot because you look back, it's not what you're doing at that time. You're not thinking of ever getting any Hall of Fame. And you look back and you go, wow, I got in the Hall of Fame. It was pretty good.
Well, with that, Joe, we just got a few minutes left. So do you have any final remarks or anything else you want to say to everybody who's tuning in today?
Oh, I don't know. I talk too much. I feel like I'm drunk on speed, but because I get all hyper. I'm just happy to tell you guys. Believe me, I was in your seats. Whatever. We're going back October 20th. We're going back to Detroit, my wife and I, for the 50th anniversary of our high school championship team, and it's a Catholic League champions, and we really had a good team. But that's what I'm thinking about. You've made lifetime friends in here. All you guys here, no matter what you think, somebody here is going to be your lifetime friend, from a teacher to maybe a officer here at the school. You kids are making lifetime friends. The most important person I know in my life and my wife's life, because one of the most important person, we went to the same school as our sixth grade teacher, Mr. Mosier, and my high school coach, Mr. Bumgart. They're both still alive. We stay in contact. I'm 67 years old. My wife is going to be 67, and those are two of the most important people. They changed their whole life because you need a teacher to change it. If I ask you guys, who won the Super Bowl 4 years ago? Nobody. You might know, it's a guess, but who's your favorite teacher? Who's your best friend? Who's your best friend right now? You can name them like this, right? And you can name your best teacher that you had, just like that. That's gonna be that way for the rest of your life because they made a difference in your life. So that's my advice to anybody. Enjoy the moment too. Just don't take yourself so serious. It's, you watch TV and you listen to the news, everything, the wheels are falling off. It's pretty good. You guys got up, ate your breakfast, come to lunch, don't even have to be in class. You're sitting to some dumb football player telling you some funny stories or trying to be funny. You live a good life. You're going to go home and your parents are going to take care of you. This country is so great, and we have such a good time, and enjoy it because it's not as bad as you think it is. It's better than you think.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Heart of a Hall of Famer series with class of 2003 Hall of Famer Gold Jacket Joe DeLamielleure. Mr. DeLamielleure, I want to thank you from all of us here at the Hall of Fame, from President David Baker, our George Veras, Joe Horrigan, everybody here at the Hall thanks you for what you've done for us here at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, but more importantly, what you've done for the entire game of football. I like to say the game of football wouldn't be the same or like it is today without your influence, without all of our Hall of Famers' influence. So thank you for that. Thank you for participating today. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody's mics. Let's give Mr. DeLamielleure one last round of applause. All right, with that, we're going to end it. Enjoy the rest of your day, Mr. DeLamielleure. Thank you very much, and we'll hopefully one day see you guys here in Canton, Ohio.